welcome back to another new series on Sage and the Rage.
I'm Sage.
And I'm Rage, and this new series is called Game Specs. Sage and I love to speculate about World of Warcraft and all things Blizzard, but as with all gamers, we have other games and things that we also enjoy, and we thought, let's speculate about those things. Let's talk about those things.
So yeah, branching out a little bit, trying new horizons. Today we're going to be talking about a series Rage and I both enjoy quite greatly, and that is Metroid.
Love Metroid. Samus Aran is one of my favorite heroes. You know, heroines, if you want to go with that word there. Like, she is one of the strongest female characters in video game history, with the exception of Other M.
I mean, she's been kicking butt since day one. I think we can all agree that. The first Metroid was great. Super Metroid pretty much evolved the entire series.
Super Metroid leaped gaming forward, period.
Yeah, Metroidvania is a genre, and what's the first half of that? It's Metroid.
It's Metroid. And Super Metroid was amazing. And then we got to Prime. We got to Prime Echoes, and then we got to Prime Corruption, and, primed out. And now, as we go into our first, episode on game specs here, it's about Metroid Prime 4. The world went bananas over a number with a blue background on it.
Yeah, at this point, we literally know that it's a number 4. That's it. There is no info anywhere. Yeah, it's probably going to be talked about at E3 later this year, but until then, we really don't know what this game's all about. So that's where we come in.
Yep. Couple speculations, couple ideas, couple theories. But the first thing that I really want to talk about as we establish this is the overall timeline. You start with Metroid, or Zero Mission now, as it's called. You move into Prime, then Prime Hunters, Echoes Corruption, Metroid 2, The Return of Samus, Samus Returns, whichever version you want to go off there. And I want to stop there on that one. Is that as we move into Metroid Prime 4, the first thing that I want to speculate about this game is that I feel it's definitely going to be well made and handled with love. Because that 3DS, Return of Samus, or Samus Returns, whichever way you want to go with it, the old title or the new title, okay? For me, I grew up with the old original Game Boy series, and so having it redone was amazing, but it was handled with love, and it was genuine to a Metroid game. They took it back from the Other M status, which was the last game we had, and really brought, I think, the franchise back around.
Yeah, it was really a love letter to Metroid fans, It took the series that's kind of been down on its luck here lately, and it gave it a nice adrenaline shot, revitalized it.
Oh, some of those boss fights were just amazing. Like with the, whatever his name is, the Digger boss that chases you a couple times, you finally fight him, and you've got to do all this laser jumping, use the power bombs, blast down the cores, line up the things, then run around. He vacuums it up. It's just all these mechanics put in there, and so the game was really well made. And so with that being said, then we move into Super Metroid in the timeline, then Other M, which we're just not going to talk about, and then we have Fusion. And so I am hoping, and just hoping against hopes, that Metroid Prime 4 actually continues this timeline on forward past Fusion.
I'm in complete agreement there. I really think it's time Metroid stopped going backwards and started heading forward into the timeline.
Because as much as a great love letter as the 3DS remake of Metroid 2 was, it's time to push it forward. And there's a couple things, and it seems really simple to talk about, and maybe it's not far enough along, but look at Fusion, and look at the progression of Samus and her connection to the Metroids. First, she, goes to wipe them out, then she goes to their homeworld to wipe them out. Then we have Super Metroid, then we have Other M, then we have Fusion, and she's literally fused with the Metroids. Like, her relationship to the Metroids goes through this wonderful progression. And so now we have Metroid Fusion and hopefully Metroid Prime 4. And the reason that and this sounds so silly, but the background on the logo is blue. Her suit now is blue. I would love if that was just a playoff right there. Because if we look at the logo, we can simply see the screw attack kind of S in the background behind the 4, and it's blue now. I'm hoping, just in simple little things about color, that's to symbolize that we're moving forward with now she is now blue.
I am in agreement with you there. I really think now is the time to go forward. I think having a Metroid suit, fused with the Metroid, would be a great way to expand the gameplay. Really, take the old, don't get rid of the Varia suit or the, Screw Attack or any of those classics, but add new things that we haven't seen before. But playing a little bit of devil's advocate with the blue, we have to talk about the other blue thing tied to Prime, Phazon. So, starting with Prime and going through the whole trilogy, we deal with Phazon. Dark Samus, one of the primary antagonists of the series, is made of Phazon. We go to the planet Phase at the end of, Corruption, which, spoiler alert, we kind of blow up the planet. But there is a strong chance Prime 4, in, theme with the rest of Prime, is going to have more Phazon. And the blue could be the remnants of Phazon, what's left of the Phazon after the planet Phase blew up, and kind of its lingering effects on the galaxy. Personally speaking, I hope they don't go this way, but it is a possibility.
It totally is a possibility, because the blue behind the background is the color of Phazon. The planet Phase was kind of blown up, and if you look behind the logo, you kind of see some at the epicenter, and right behind the 4 to the, very center of it, you see the epicenter of what looks like a blue explosion. And so maybe it's to symbolize this is the end of Phase, the end of Phazon, and this is going forward, and 4 is going to pick right up after Prime 3 left off, which could be another timeline jump there too. And we see something blowing up, like I already said. But I feel like Phazon has played its role. And as players and people who love the franchise, we're tired of Phazon. It's just, they literally, and I shouldn't say this because Nintendo is they're innovators, could find some new mechanic to go off of. But throughout the Prime games, we've seen, just the regular Metroid, but put in 3D, and that was a huge hit with Metroid Prime. Then we had the whole light and dark thing, and then we had Corruption, and we have played off every aspect of Phazon that we could.
Yeah, I think that Phazon has really been played out at this point. I mean, it has been quite a few years since the last Metroid Prime, so, maybe they can make it fresh again, but really, I'm hoping Nintendo tries something new, and personally, I think they will, because if we head back into 2017 and look at Nintendo's recent track record, Breath of the Wild was a breath of fresh air for the Zelda series.
Yep.
Just treading whole new ground. And Super Mario Odyssey, same thing. It is a fresh new Mario game. And I have no reason to doubt that Nintendo would do the same for Metroid. Take what's old, but bring in what's new. How Metroid's going to look moving forward.
Absolutely. I think the other thing to consider as we'll talk about timelines and going forward and maybe speculate on is that the unwanted stepchild of the Metroid franchise, which is Federation Force.
Yeah, I get that Nintendo's trying new things and they want to expand Metroid beyond just Samus, but I feel like their approach was wrong.
That's like saying you want to expand Mario beyond Mario, and how many times has that worked?
Yeah, I mean, we've got Luigi's Mansion, that's about it.
And that was really only the real successful one. And even if you go, well, Yoshi's Island was focused on Yoshi. Well, no, Baby Mario was in it the whole time.
Yeah, you'd have to...
He is the entire plot device.
Yeah, you'd have to go beyond to, Yoshi story before you get outside of Mario. And
exactly. So, back to the point about Federation Force, though, there is a secret ending in the game where we see someone break into a Federation facility. And we know that from Fusion, and we know that from Other M, that the Federation has now been just as bad as the Space Pirates, trying to use and cultivate Metroids, and breed them, make them, use them for weaponry, and hide it from even their own people as weapons. We saw it in the bottle ship in Fusion, and we saw it in Other M as well. And so, are they capable of doing that? Yeah. Do they have a Metroid there? That's not unbelievable. We get to the secret ending, we see somebody break into the Federation facility, hatch an actual baby Metroid, and then the camera pans out. And a lot of people on the internet like to think, and I tend to agree, that the shoulder piece of armor and the right arm that we see as we look over the camera shoulder there, is that it looks like Sylux's armor from Metroid Prime Hunters.
Yeah, I'm very much in agreement with this series. And, he was a mysterious character even when he was introduced. And they kind of did hint that he has some ties with Samus.
Mm-hmm. And what could those ties be? Other people have speculated this, and I like this theory. I'm not saying I'm a proponent of it, but I like it. Is that Sylux could be Samus's brother? And there was a whole manga, I can't talk, introduced in which there could possibly be a brother.
Yeah.
Somebody else. I think that would be really cool to see brother against sister in some type of battle over what remnants of the Metroids are left. Samus is going to fight for the Metroids, not in the sense like to save them or anything. She knows their weapons. She knows they're very deadly species. But she is attached to them. So whatever you do to the Metroids, you also inadvertently, in a sense, the way they're symbolically connected, and also symbiotically connected now after fusion, you do to Samus. So if that is Sylux or some other antagonistic force that has the Metroids now, or a Metroid, what are they going to be doing with them? And then that goes back to the whole thing about Phazon being overdone. We've had Zero Mission. We've had Prime, where we hunted down Metroid Prime. And that, all the Phazon combined, Dark Samus, all that other good stuff. We had Metroid 2, where we hunted them down and annihilated them. We've had Fusion. We've had all this stuff. We've dealt with Metroids too. What new spin can Nintendo bring to the table to make this exciting and new?
Yeah, they really need to pull out all the stops on this one. Mostly because, as I said earlier, it's been a long while since we've had a true Metroid game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, we did just have Samus Returns not long ago, but that was a remake. I'm talking something brand new.
Something that's not Phazon as the main plot device. Something that is not just, Metroids are being weaponized as the main plot device. Now, you could argue that other M and Fusion didn't have Metroids being weaponized as just the main plot device, but when you got through the plots of both those games, that's what was going on.
Yeah, that. And I'd like to see the flip of, instead of Metroids being weaponized, we have Samus basically trying to fight for the Metroids, as in, no more working with the Federation, no more fighting still fighting the Space Pirates, but ultimately, she's kind of against everyone of knock it off with the Metroids.
And that's where I think the game really needs to pick up, as far as speculation goes. I'm hoping that Metroid Prime 4 shows us that Samus is done with the Federation, done taking orders from people, and done working for people, because the Federation has now proven that they are just as evil.
Yeah.
And they're no better than the pirates. And if you put in a plot where she stands against the pirates, against the Federation, and no one is on her side, that automatically, through the story plot, creates a sense of isolation for the player. And isolation is what makes the Metroid series good. It's why the original Metroid on the NES was amazing, because you were alone in this planet with no maps and no nothing. Nothing really except for your little game guide that was like, is it Zebes? Is it Zebus? How do you pronounce it? I don't know. And then you move forward, and it's Zebus, by the way. And you move forward into Prime, isolated. Hunters, you had some of the people you interacted with, but that game didn't do quite as well. Echoes, you had some interaction. That game didn't do as well as Prime did. Corruption, same, not, Number 2, isolated. Super Metroid, isolated. Fusion, isolated. Minus your computer AI.
Well, and the SAX, which was a phenomenal point. And speaking about the SAX, I feel like that's something they could bring to 3D. If we are introducing Sylux, imagine this. Okay, for one thing, we can draw some similarities between him and Samus. They have pretty similar, movesets and all that, abilities. What if Samus, following Fusion, is now being hunted by Sylux? And you have a little bit of that SAX thing going on where you kind of feel like prey.
Yep.
You're kind of wandering around, hiding, running, trying to build up your power before you're actually capable, because as we know from Fusion, the Fusion suit comes with its own set of weaknesses now.
Yep. Samus is just as weak to cold as a Metroid because she is infused with Metroids in their symbiotic relationship. Which again would breathe in that layer of isolation.
Yeah.
When the Metroid series focuses on the isolation of the storyline and the isolation of the player inside of Metroid's role, Samus's role inside the Metroid series, we have success.
Yeah.
And if we have Sylux or whoever this antagonist is who's using the Metroids once again hunting Samus with no one on her side, then we have a game that's set up to create that isolation. And if the past has proven anything, isolation breeds success within this series and this franchise.
Yeah.
So my speculation in the end on this video here is that I'm hoping that Metroid Prime 4 will leave us against the Federation, against the pirates, against somebody hunting us, and against the Metroids, but at the same time, symbiotically attached to the Metroid. Very curious what you guys think down below. Do you think that isolation is the way to go to bring this series forward and get away from Phazon and get away from just Metroids, but really pit Samus against everyone and return her to that I am the lone bounty hunter?
Yeah, let us know what you think, and, you know, give us your thoughts and speculations on how you want Metroid Prime 4 to go. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're always notified when we post a new video. Thanks for watching.
Peace.